Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today we have special guest Kayley Zitoni, and she is going to share a little bit about her incredible journey back to wellness. Hi, Kayley.
Thank you so much for having me, Sheila. Hi, it's so great to be here.
Yes, I'd love to hear about your journey. And one thing that this show is related to my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And I'd love to hear about your journey back to wellness and how you went from the MS to what you're doing now.
Yeah, I was diagnosed with MS when I was 12. And obviously at that age, you just got to do what you can. You don't have time to stop and think and process. And many, many years later, I said, something here doesn't add up. And I just didn't want to live the rest of my life with illness and disease. And so a few years ago, I said, enough is enough. I don't want to live this way. And I started a deep dive into the mind-body connection, and I've been symptom-free ever since. And that has created a whole new career for me and a whole new life, which I'm sure we'll get to talk about, because now I want to share that gift with others and that information with others. So that's how I got here. And yeah, it's like picking yourself up from the absolute bottom and having to just believe with every fiber of your being that there's another option. Even when everybody says no, even when, it doesn't make sense, you just got to keep going and stick with what you believe. So yeah, we have a lot in common, and your story has been so inspiring to me.
Yes. Oh, wow. Well, that is incredible. Now, I'm wondering, what was it like at 12 years old to have this situation? What symptoms did you have? What happened?
Yeah, so I woke up one day and I felt extremely ill. I felt like I had the flu. And the reason for that, which took us a while to figure out, was that my eyes were rapidly jumping right to left. And that's a symptom called nystagmus. And it's fairly common with MS or with a neurological disease. And so I felt sick to my stomach. I just could not function. I also, I had tingling all over my feet and my legs. So I didn't have a lot of balance. I couldn't really hold myself up. So it was literally from one moment to the next, my entire life changed. And as the weeks went on, my symptoms changed. They worsened. Every day was completely different. And, as a 12-year-old, in some ways it was really, really scary. And every day all kinds of things crossed my mind. I thought brain tumor. I thought maybe I'm dying. I mean, everything crossed my mind. And on the other hand, as children, we're so resilient. We're so resilient. And so it's hard for us to fathom anything really severe. And so I also the whole time sort of just felt like, okay, whatever it is, it's going to be fine. I'm going to figure this out. This is going to pass. So on the one hand, I was really scared, and it was a very lonely, weird experience. Especially because I couldn't go to school. Like my whole world was upside down. There was nothing normal anymore. And on the other hand, there was sort of this awareness, this knowing deep down of it's going to be okay. So, and the other thing I would say is that at 12, I didn't really have a strong sense of identity yet. And there wasn't a lot to lose in life. So once I did finally get the diagnosis, it was sort of like, okay, what's next? Again, because children are so resilient, and also because it wasn't like I was about to lose a career. It wasn't affecting a relationship. It was so different. It was, when do I get to go back to school? Those were my questions. So my mind was in a different place. And I say all of that really casually. I also look back and am amazed at the resilience and strength that I had. At the time, the only medication was through injection. And I I had a freak out initially. I had my total freak out when I found out it was going to be shots every day. I freaked out.
Mhm.
But then I recovered and I was like, okay, I want to learn to do this. I want to learn to do it for myself. You know, there was the option to have a nurse do it every day. And I just said, no, I want to feel like I can go to camp, like I can go to a sleepover. I want to feel like I can do this for myself. And I figured it out, you know, I figured it out. And I don't know how she did it, that little girl, but she did it. So yeah.
And you say brain body connection. Was there something that happened that was a tragedy or an incident right before you got sick?
Not necessarily right before, but you know, the body takes its time to develop disease. That doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes we do see a direct connection, but usually something was brewing for a while. And there was a lot going on in my childhood, in my family life, and nothing severe, you know, thank God. There was no abuse. I had a really good life, but things that as a child I felt helpless. And every kid does in different ways. And then the body says, oh, she needs a voice. Oh, she wants to be seen. Oh, she needs help in this way or that way. Let's help her. We can help her. And there were a lot of circumstances as I was growing up that just were not serving me. And were very hard for me to manage and to cope with. And the truth is, as much as I was miserable living with illness and facing all those symptoms, the symptoms I had actually did very much serve a really good purpose. And my needs very quickly were met. You know, any challenges we had as a family unit suddenly went away. Our communication was better. We were more loving towards each other. We were more grateful. We slowed down the pace, you know, and I desperately needed that at the time. And so many more things along with it. I mean, obviously it's a very personal journey. But there were many aspects things that were painful for me to see, well, all of a sudden I couldn't see. I had to keep my eyes closed because opening them, I was so nauseous. So my body was protecting me in many ways, which at the time I didn't realize, you know, and I just, while I say that, it's so important to emphasize for anyone facing illness, this doesn't happen consciously. You know, a lot of times we hear people say psychosomatic. And that implies that it's your fault. It's not your fault. Nobody knows. I was a kid, you know, and even if I was an adult, you're not aware of how that's happening. We don't realize how our thoughts or our environment affect our body and affect us at a cellular level. How could we know? But it does. It does. And my body did a great job. And I just later had to say, thank you. You really did help, but I don't want to live like this the rest of my life. And we got to figure out a new relationship here, you know? So I had to renegotiate that with my body much later.
So at what age or point did you make that decision or take charge and make that shift?
Great question. It's a great question because I think there were different stages of my life where it started to come in more and more of an awareness that I was going to have to change the game in some way and find another path, find my own way. I really made the final decision about 6 or 7 years ago. I just said, I don't want to be waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was finally actually doing very well and had a really solid baseline. I still had symptoms from time to time, but for the most part was doing okay. And was in a situation where my neurologist would have considered me symptom free, which their barometer for that is like, as long as, you know, the roof isn't falling apart and everything isn't firing, you're okay, you know? So, which by the way, only further feeds disease, right? Because if you're not going to get attention from a doctor until everything's falling apart, then the body hears that and says like, okay, well, maybe we need to make this louder so that we get our needs met. It's so convoluted, but yeah, so it was a few years back that I just said, I don't want to always be waiting. And I said, I know deep down, I know inside that there's got to be another way. I firmly believe in the mind-body connection. I have to figure this out. And, you know, I really believe that once you come to a decision in your life, it's like everything comes together for you. And so the teachers appeared and the path appeared, and I was able to, and I took so many different directions. I just tried everything and anything. Probably the thing that was the most powerful was meditation and EFT, emotional freedom technique, which a lot of people know as tapping. So using those techniques along with, see, this was the other thing is I thought I was going to do, I knew it was possible, but a lot of times we feel alone in these moments. Yes. And I very quickly discovered that there were so many other people who had walked this path. And so I started reading about them and finding their books, and I just started trying these things. And it took a couple years of really, really concerted effort and having to, like I said at the beginning, believe no matter what the circumstance. I could be in excruciating pain and I would lay there, tears coming down my face, something that I would normally want to reach for a medication, and just was like, no, I will be in this until I figure out what my body wants. And in the meantime, continuously visualize my healthy self, visualize tomorrow without pain. Even though I was in excruciating pain, it's like you have to almost go to a place of total irrational thinking, but that convinces the body that it's even possible. And then the cells can start to change. And they really do. We have science that shows this now, that the mind can convince the body of anything, really.
Wow. Yes. I think that's very true. And so interesting because we have this year, we have a pandemic and we have things that are hitting the neurological aspects and, you know, affecting taste and this and that. And people are sent home to somehow recover. And unless you can't breathe, and you go to the emergency room. So they don't give anybody, I mean, there are some medications that are supposed to help. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes people weren't even able to access these medications, depending on the situation and where they lived. And so it was kind of like, okay, good luck. Go home, figure it out, have some food or some broth, and good luck with that. And so it was, this year has been a year of like listening to our bodies and listening to, oh, I need to take a pause. Maybe we need to take a universal pause or listen and you know, things get louder and louder for our world with something like this happening. And it's like, it's stopping us in our tracks because we need to like kind of change course a little bit in one way or another. And it's almost like the collective is hurting. And so we need to heal as a collective. And it's a big difference.
Yes, I totally agree, right? I talk about how the body as an organism will adjust accordingly to its needs. And I really feel that that's what's happening as a global organism, right? So it's like, we need to slow down. We need to learn to listen. We need to learn to be with ourselves. And that does not diminish at all how much compassion and empathy and care we have to have for those who are suffering right now. And at the same time, to be able to see on a global scale, we do need to do some course correction. And that is happening. You know, people's lives have changed drastically. We're learning. I mean, listen, I'm just gonna, put in here that I'm sitting in the middle of an island in Mexico, because I could right now, and I wanted to get out of lockdown, and I wanted some freedom, and I wanted some space, and we can start to live that way. And I can work from anywhere now. Well, that didn't used to be the case. No one would have been like, oh, okay, sure, let's Zoom. Now it's the norm. So a lot of things are coming into our reality that I hope are going to allow us to be more conscious beings. I'm really hoping and praying for that. I think a lot of good has already come from this and will come from this. And then you see the flip side, because just like you started talking about the body, we are so in fear now of our bodies and of what might happen. And I get calls all the time. I'm having a hard time breathing. I can't smell. And so I just get everybody centered when I get that phone call. And 9 times out of 10, those symptoms aren't real. That is the power of the mind. 9 times out of 10, once I get someone calm and centered to do some deep breathing, then they're able to smell and they're able to actually get a breath. But we have to calm down first. And our fight or flight response in today's world is just at its peak. And instead of teaching people how to get calm and how to trust their bodies and how to boost their immune systems, especially through the power of the mind, we're just spreading so much fear. And fear, it's been shown, it's been proven, you can show this. It literally blocks our immune response. It's like the last thing we need, but this is how we're operating today. So we're getting a huge wake up call, you know, and I love that you brought that up, because if that's the one thing people hear today is like, fear is actually weakening your immune system, turn off the news and hear something positive. I was listening to so many of your interviews just in preparation for today. And there's so much inspiration there. There's so much beauty and inspiration that people can access just in the palm of their hand today. Spend your time doing that. That's going to boost your immune cells, you know, and it's been studied. I mean, this is not, we're not making this up, you know, but no one stands to benefit from that. So that's why we just don't hear about it. But I'll shout it from the rooftops if I have to.
Yes. And I mean, obviously there's wisdom. You're not going to like go hug everybody. And even though you want to, you're going to follow whatever the guidelines are as best you can, you know, honor whatever.
And maybe that's a good thing for all of us.
Yes.
You know? and maybe that was a good lesson also.
Hugs. You know, and I miss you know, 15,000 people at an event jumping around, dancing and hugging and all these fun things that I attended on a regular basis. So I can't wait for the world to be that open. But there are ways, and I think it has, for me and for my family and I, really this year, actually, we're coming upon the anniversary of losing my youngest son. He passed away December 21st. He had a heart condition, Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome, and it happened in 5th grade that he fell in playing basketball, and then they did ablation and they did treatments, and then he was fine. But it's one of those things where you don't know, and it could hit anybody, and it's like a very small percentage of the population has this. It's something that just happens. And he went home to grandma's and he didn't wake up. And so for us, that, you know, and I have 6 children. I adopted 3 are mine. He was one of my biological youngest. And for us as a family, it was some of the college kids came home to stay because the dorms closed. Some already had decided, I'm coming home because I just don't want to deal with anything. They're very close. The kids were all very close. And so they were already home. And I think, you know, by the time we were able to have a ceremony because of the holidays, it was really January. So we were barely kind of waking up again and getting back on track. You know, okay, we're going to push ourselves. We went to one big party that was wonderful, a big birthday party with hundreds of people, probably close to 1,000, and it was great. And that was like, and it felt so good. And then we went home, and we had moved our main place to a new state. So here we are, isolated a little bit. We don't know anybody, and the world shut down. And what my daughter said, I have always one girl, and my daughter said, Mom, if ever there was a year that our family needed a universal pause, it's this year. I needed more time than I thought. And we really enjoyed this. We had our moments and our grieving, and we still do from time to time for sure. But we needed this time. Oh, it was such a gift. And as a mom, to be able to have my kids close and have more visits and this and that, it really, it has been a gift and a blessing. And I just felt like sometimes we need to take that time. And when you look back in life and you lose a loved one, a lot of people have lost somebody they know or heard of this, a loss in one way or another, not always from COVID, but from something, then, you know, you realize the value of life and what really matters most. I think this gets us all to thinking about what's really important. And we go back to your story, and you were so young when this happened to you or for you as a gift in its own way. And when that happened for you, like it's happening for a lot of us, this is happening for us in such a way, especially for this younger generation. Imagine everybody's on one trajectory that maybe not so good. And now awareness has come in about value, life, what matters most. I mean, it changed probably what mattered most to you at 12 years old. Changed real quick.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It was honestly the greatest gift. It was the greatest gift because every day is a gift now. And I've lived my entire life this way. And it's, it's so interesting because I lost my fiance a few years ago, and my reaction was like, I mean, there was a range of reactions, but I was like, but I've already learned about this. Like, I was like, are you kidding now? What?
Yeah.
But you know what? It was another wake up call. And the truth is it was a gift because it woke me up, as excruciating as it was. And it's so profound to me that you could express everything that you just expressed because it's your child. Mm-hmm. But it's like, when we have these moments in life, our challenges make us, and we're not here to coast. We're not on this planet for smooth sailing. We're here to make the most of it. And those moments are so pivotal if you choose to see them and wake up. And one of the things that you said that I think is so key is that you took the time, right? We actually, when lockdown started, I had a show called Use the Pause. You used the pause. And so many of us, like you're saying, it's a wake-up call. So many people actually don't take it as a wake-up call when someone passes because it's so scary to face our feelings, and because we've lived in this society where I still have to show up for work tomorrow. And when I do some grief coaching as well, I won't see a client who's going to go back to work within a month. We need this time. It's crucial. It's crucial. And you needed that time as a family together, which I just really want to celebrate you for that, for honoring that, and for really doing that for yourself and for your family, because there are plenty of people who, even without lockdown, I mean, even with lockdown, wouldn't have done that. That takes a unique person to say, okay, something here is happening for me. But yeah, to have that lesson as a kid, as a child, absolutely changed my life, 100% allowed me, opened the door for me to be the woman I am today, and to have amazing experiences along the way. I actually know how short life is. You got to just make the most of it.
So if you're listening in today and you've hit a tough spot this year, or lost a loved one, or something has happened that's kind of been a setback, or feels at the moment like a setback, that doesn't mean it's forever. It means it's a pause.
Yes.
And a time to rebuild, to reinvent your life, to really think about what matters most and make some new choices. For me, my book was supposed to come out in January. It came out in August because I put it on hold. And the whole goal was to help people the first chapters on grieving and getting through grief and recovery. And I said, whoa, I wrote this book for me. I wrote it for myself. I didn't know, but I had lost a lot of other relatives. So, all my parents, grandparents, everybody had already passed. So he's not alone, sure. But I lost everybody else. And so that was why I wrote that. But it was okay. It doesn't mean it became a bestseller, all that. It did what it's supposed to do. And now I have this great show that I enjoy, helping other people and sharing about things and sharing stories like your beautiful short story, because that's the point. Your purpose doesn't disappear when something happens. It really doesn't. And it's okay to give yourself permission to breathe, get grief counseling, get help, ask for help when you need it, honor the feelings, don't stuff them in. That's when I really feel like if you start getting these pains and you're not, I told my kids, okay, I got a punching bag. You wake me up at 3. If we need to cry together or scream, whatever we need to do, you have my permission. You feel like punching, go for it. Whatever we need to get out. Because if we keep it in, that's when it's going to stay forever and be stuck. So that was
it gets stuck. I'm so happy for you that you had that awareness and that wisdom during such a difficult time, and I'm so happy for your children that they have you as an example and to help them through that, because so much of our society is the opposite. And that is, I'm so like, I'm just celebrating that, because that is how you have to get through it. The feelings are there. Just because you don't want to look at them doesn't mean they disappear, and they do store in the body, and you have to 100%, it's like, you have to go all in. You have to go all in. And at any point in your life, and like you said, it doesn't mean your purpose ends. Look, your book was delayed a few months, and it probably was even more poignant and more like better timed. And also, who cares? Like, that's not why we're here. We're not here to be the most successful. We're here to become our best selves. And we do that through experiencing those emotions, through facing these life challenges and these moments. And we grow through that. We change through that. That I never thought I was going to be that person. It's so weird to say this, but even as a kid, all I cared about was like getting straight A's. It's all. And then all of a sudden I was like, no, I want memories. I want to have fun. I wasn't that kid for some reason. I didn't hang out on the playground at recess. I just didn't do that. And then all of a sudden I was like, that's all I want to do. I don't even care if I'm in class, And it's so easy when we become adults, and the bills and you know what? We're seeing how much that doesn't matter. When someone goes, their debt didn't matter, and neither did their millions. Like, it's like that. How did you spend your time, and what's your quality of life? And I'm just this feels like a blessing to have this conversation with you, because it's so clear. Like, you've so done your work, and you're so showing up for life. And I love talking to people like that, because it's an honor. It really is. It's so beautiful.
And I think that's the thing about, if you're a parent and you're listening in, and your kids are stuck at home, and you're like, oh my gosh, my poor kids, they're going through something. That's what builds strength and character. And we're all going through a living history. And it's like the birthing pains of some new things that are really good. And if we protect them from every single reality, that doesn't mean put them in front of the news. No, but it means it's okay. Don't do that. But it's okay to have things be different, and celebrate what is at this moment. It's okay. They're not gonna literally. I'm telling you, I worked with a client, and her and her husband were so concerned. They started fighting. They brought their businesses home. They have 2 separate businesses, and everything got cut in half or more, like 90% down at one point. And they were fighting. And then the kids had to come home and start doing homeschool. And the complaint the mom had was, my kids are always fighting. And I said, well, are you fighting? And she said, well, yeah. And I said, okay then. And when was the last time you took a day off as a family and just played and had fun? Not since the pandemic started. And we were quite a ways into it. We were really into the lockdowns, and not a day. And I was like, well, then, you know what? They are going to be fine missing a day. In fact, take a freaking week off and go play and have fun. And, as a couple, as a family, have a date day, go have some fun, breathe a little bit, because this will be over, and all you'll have is the memories. It won't matter if they did a math lesson or not. They can catch up. Really, I promise.
Right. And you don't want to. It's so true. I love that you're saying that. I've had to say that to so many of my clients during this time, because it's so many new stressors. We already lived a very stressful life, and all these new stressors. And I'm just like, you know what? If your kid's 5 minutes late, like, and it's so interesting, because so many of my clients have told me, so many of them are parents, and so many of them have said, the schools are sending these notes home, emailing these notes about, well, your kid's been late this many times. I'm like, this is where you have to show up for your child and say, so what? Like, so what? You know what? We've got 5 kids on computers at the same table. You know what? It just is what it is. And it's time for us to all learn a new system. So stop playing into the system. Take the step back. Do what your kids need. Your kid needs to paint all morning. Let the kid paint, we have to, and you got to meet them where they're at and know that they're, first of all, again, like I said before, so resilient, and we can learn so much from children and how they're managing this time. But also, there's a grief there also. They're missing their friends, they're missing that. And to honor that, to be with them as they grieve that experience, you know, to not have their senior year that they envisioned for so long, right? To just be with them in that and just hold space for them. And that means you got to take care of you, you know, to be a container for your child's feelings. You have to face your own. And that's like you said, well, your kids are going to be fighting if you're fighting. Well, your kids are going to be falling apart if you're falling apart. And they need to know that it's safe to fall apart. They need to know that it's safe to feel disappointment, confusion, that they just need to unwind and take a day off. And that's okay. You know, it's like, it would be so unusual to call in to work. And I had to do this when I committed to living disease free. I had to stop saying MS, multiple sclerosis, symptoms. I had to take it out of my vocabulary. So then what happens when you are not feeling well and have to take a day off work? And I had to just call in and just say, I'm not going to come in today. Full stop. Yeah. No reason, no excuse, which was so uncomfortable at first. And then I became, you know, I came to love it. And now I teach my clients to do that. But as a society, it's like you have to have a reason, and sickness is a reason. Well, we are seeing how much illness is around us right now. Let your kids, let yourself have the time. You don't need the excuse. Don't wait for the reason. Don't do it. Just take it now. Right. Take it now. Yeah, I love that you coach your clients through that.
Yes.
What'd you say?
It's really the key to wellness. Go play. Laugh a little bit. Have some fun. Even if it's like,
yes, we have
hardest time, if you can find like some ways to be have gratitude, to go have fun, to take a walk with your family, do something. It doesn't have to be expensive. It can be really simple, but it's those memories. We have so many magic memories from this year as a family that I'm incredibly grateful for. And so that's what we did. And I'm so happy that I share things here. Now, one of the things I do like to share is, if you're listening in and maybe you need some resources, it's okay to look for resources. So there is something called 211. Have you heard of the 211?
Yes, I've actually heard it from your show.
Okay, yes. So there you go. So 211 is a resource. If you Google 211 and your state or province in Canada, you will actually get a ton of resources. So that's, maybe you need some help, mental health help for someone you know or love, someone in the family. Maybe you know someone that's in an abusive home that needs to get out, and there's resources for that. Maybe it's just getting to a food bank, or help with rental assistance, mortgage assistance, help finding an extra job. So those resources are available. It could be that the schools are closing again. Some states are actually closing schools again and closing, you know, there's, depending on where you live. California is closing down again, you know, depending on where you are. And so sometimes the schools are closed, yet they are still having programs or offering programs, even if your children don't attend, where they're giving lunch, and you can drive through and get lunch if you have children. There's all kinds of different ways to get help. And it's okay to ask for help. It may be this is the only year you've ever needed a resource. Or maybe you have a company, or you go to a church, a temple, you're in a community program, just to be able to share. You see a friend that's going through something and they mention it. You have some kind of a resource. You can give love, you can give support. But if you're, sometimes somebody just needs to get plugged into an extra resource. And then, doing some extra programs, some meditation, and you have tapping, different things that can help you. Yes. And then getting the help you need to, get back on track is going to just get you there faster.
Yes, 100%. We don't want to wait. We have no idea how long we're in this. You have to take care of yourself now. And it doesn't necessarily need to be that there's a need for financial or practical support, right? You can still be, financially fine and stable and still not feel calm or centered. And that's also really, really important. So I also just want to throw out there that there are so many apps today that you could just, again, from the palm of your hand, work through a lot of this. Obviously, I always say everyone should be in therapy to some extent, or go get a coach or join a coaching group. But 100%, in addition, there's Insight Timer and Headspace, and you can learn breathing through an app called the Wim Hof Method, which is so good for the body, especially COVID. And there's the Tapping Solution is also a great app to just reduce anxiety. And I actually have a free Facebook group that started pretty much day one of lockdown in California. We have about 500 members, and there are dozens of videos of myself and my co-facilitator of meditations and just things to give you inspiration for the day and tools for the day and hope and support. And so many beautiful people in there sharing. We just had a whole share this week about, okay, what is everybody doing to stay centered this week? And people are sharing their what's working for them. And so to know that you're not alone, and they're from all over the world. And we need that, just because we are physically distanced doesn't mean we need to be socially distanced. And that's crucial. And the one other thing that you shared, Sheila, is like, give love. When you give love, you feel love. It raises you up. So just reaching out to someone, making that phone call when we're feeling the most down and the most alone, that's the best time to pick up the phone, because someone else might also be feeling that, and they're going to feel you're going to lift their spirits, and both of you are going to benefit from that phone call. And remember that it's like what you said earlier, we're not at the concert with 1,000 people anymore, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to sit down with a friend. We're already doing our part. That doesn't mean we shouldn't see anyone or do anything. It's all about balance. And, I really believe that. So, you got to listen to you. We have to go in and listen to ourselves and trust ourselves. I look at especially the elderly, they haven't seen their family in so long. And I ask myself regularly, like, I don't know if I would make that decision if that was my last time on this earth. I might rather take the risk and get to be with my family members. I don't know, but we all have to find our path and listen to our heart. It's so wise. We are so wise within us,
Yes. And I think what's right for one, I think that's it. Listening and being really intuitive about it.
Yeah.
It could be, even when we don't have COVID, it's like, okay, Mom, can I go to this concert? And you might have a gut feeling, not today. And you might let them go to every concert. And that's the day they have to listen, because something's going to happen that one day. And so it's the same thing with this, where you're like, not that person, or I don't feel right about going to this or that. It doesn't feel, I'm not guided. I always say I'm not guided to do this or that. And really, I listen.
Absolutely.
When I listen, I'm good. And when I don't listen, or I go with the mind, then I have a problem. All the time.
Yes.
So I learned to listen. Yes, it's easier. And I think that we all have a little bit of that connected intuition, that knowing. So yes, and
we really do.
I would love to have you share maybe with the listeners how they can connect more with you, maybe join your coaching program on Facebook and get more involved if they're also looking for a wellness path.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, for anyone and everyone, it doesn't have to be anyone with chronic illness. You can join our Facebook group, Staying Centered Through Coronavirus, which we've gone back and forth on. Do we change the name? Is it through the election? And we've left it at that for now, because that's how people find us. So join anytime. And if we don't have any live sessions that week, you can just scroll through. There's so many videos. If you're feeling anxious one day, if you're just like, I need to get back to center, scroll through. There are dozens of beautiful, powerful videos, or just post. And people from all over the world are going to show up and support you. So that's the group. And then I also have a new course starting in January. It's my Get Your Body Back course for anyone facing chronic illness who, all of us know, like you said, intuitively, we have this knowing. And so if you've always sort of known, I don't have to live this way, but you've tried everything and nothing's working, and you're ready to try another route, the mind body connection, which by the way is all scientifically backed. Everything I do is based on science. And you're ready to kind of take that next step. That's what the course is for. So you can sign up today for the wait list, which by the way, we just created just for your show today, Sheila. So that's special for your audience that we got that wait list up so that people would be able to join early, and they'll be the first to know when registration opens in January. So you just find that at my website, KALEYZ.com, KALEYZ.com. And I hope you don't need my other services, which are grief coaching. But I guess you can come to either of us for that. But yeah, so you can find me through there and through social. I'm on Instagram, Kayley Zaytouni official, and same on Facebook, Kayley Zaytouni. So please never hesitate to reach out. And even if, I always hope people don't need my services. I always hope that, but sometimes it's just dropping in is a little inspiration, is a little motivation, and it reminds you of who you are, and you get to come back to center, which we all need right now. We need to remember who we are so much right now. So I think that's the most important thing,
Yes, beautiful. All right. Well, thank you, Kayley, and we will be back after these messages. Stay tuned. All right. Thank you again.
Thank you, Sheila.